Welcome to the Biscuit Book Club on Joy 620 WRJZ, featuring Marcy and Shelley. Today, conversation will build you up in the faith and encourage you to do what God has called you to do. Brought to you by Simplify Hauling. And now, let's go to the studio with Marcy.
Welcome to the Biscuit Book Club. We're serving stories with Southern charm. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Marcy. So grab your coffee or sweet tea or whatever it is that you're drinking this morning with your biscuits and settle in as we chat with one of my favorite kids authors. Shelley, I don't know if you've met Annette in person. I have.
No,
we were roommates.
I haven't yet.
We were roommates a couple of years ago, and I just fell in love with her books and just her passion for helping kids. She's an environmental educator. And now she talks to kids about these things. And one of the books that she has is Who Knew? The Truth About Owls. And I have to tell you that recently I did a science project with our grandkids. We're here with 5 of our 7 grandkids, and I purchased owl pellets. I don't know. Do you know what those are?
No.
Do you want to know what those are?
I don't want to know.
Too bad. An owl. So this is the fun thing. These remind me of the Ranger Rick books, but they are more interesting even than Ranger Rick. But in here it does talk about how owls eat their food, process it, and then they spit out these owl pellets of everything that didn't get dissolved in their stomachs. And so I had all of our grandkids around our kitchen table with little plates and little teeny knives, and they were not sharp. These are plastic, so don't get all freaked out, audience. I'm not giving our grandchildren, sharp knives to play with, but then we dissected these owl pellets, and it was so fascinating to say, okay, so what did the owl have for lunch? Like we have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but an owl probably eats rodents, and how beneficial that is because, if you have a garden, the last thing you want is to grow your garden and have something eating it before you even get to pick those. So we talked about that, and they had their plates full of bones and little skeletons. And when their moms came to pick them up, they're like, "Mom, can we take these home?" And they're like, No, those stay at Grandma's house.
I feel like when you come to visit, we're going to be out picking up moose nuggets.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, but I was always curious, and that's what I love about, and I just think it's so important to pass that on to our kids, our grandkids, is to just stay curious, because if you're curious about something, to look into it, to discover more about it. And I love Annette's structure that she starts each of her pages off with a question that kids can answer. And so, but she hasn't just written one book. She's written 10 books. And so, you know what? Instead of just talking about the amazing books that Annette Whipple writes, let's just give her a call and see if she's home. She's really a fun person. You guys would get along so well.
Interesting. I'm excited.
Me too.
Hello.
Hey, Annette. How are you? This is Marcy and Shelley.
Shelley.
Hey there.
Well,
I'm good. Yay. Perfect timing, too, because you know what? I bake a little bit. Not all the time, but I do like to bake, and I like cookies. And I just tried my first time making double chocolate chip cookies.
Wow.
And they are delicious.
Wow. So
I found a great recipe, and I'm just so thankful for that, because sometimes they're duds when you try something new. But this was not, and I'm so excited to add a great cookie to my repertoire.
Double chocolate's always better.
Yeah. So could you share that recipe with us? Because I might need to try that recipe too. We'll put that on our show notes because, especially what a perfect treat. I think cookies and sandwiches go so well for picnics. And so that's kind of what we were talking about, is how you have really cultivated curiosity and going out into nature and discovering stuff. And I just love the fact that you help other writers in their journey, but really it is about the journey of going outside and discovering. So what do you have to share with our readers about the value of summertime being a great time to go outside?
Oh, it really is. And whether, I think we need to do it as adults, even without the kids watching us. But when we as parents or grandparents or caregivers, when we encourage kids to get outside and we model living in wonder, celebrating curiosity, that's when they start doing it too. And, living in wonder, it might just be wondering out loud, asking questions, but also remembering that not every question needs to be answered. Some questions that you might wonder about or ask out loud, some of them might lead to online research or an aquarium visit or reading a book to celebrate your curiosity, but sometimes it's just being there and observing, taking note of what's so cool about whatever it is that you're noticing, or, whether you're seeing it or you're hearing it or maybe even smelling it. When we do go outside, I think that's when our ordinary day can become an adventure. That's when we can really live in wonder.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, and you not only wrote animal books, but you also have a book that I love. It's the Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion, and it's really great for homeschoolers. I've been sending messages to my homeschool friends and about this book, and I loved reading through it, and it's you just had so many fun things in there, like recipes to make butter and how to make paper dolls. I grew up making paper dolls, and I love that. And my husband grew up with all the little house books, reading those. So now I know where the saying, he loves telling people he taught me to drive and bought my first pair of store-bought shoes. He did teach me to drive. That is true. But share a little bit about that book too, because that was your first. You started writing the animal books while you were waiting on this book to come out. Am I right?
Yes. So the Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion was my very first book idea. I was writing articles and blogging before that. So it was and I had taken writing workshops and classes as well, but I didn't have any book ideas, and I was content with that. But the Laura Ingalls Wilder Companion, a chapter-by-chapter guide, was my very first book idea. And it actually came about because my children and I were reading the Chronicles of Narnia together aloud, and we had a companion book for that, and it had more information about the fantasy land of Narnia, and it had activities. So we made Turkish Delight, and there were little quizzes and discussion questions, and we loved it. And so that inspired me to write about the little house books. And it was I knew I wanted to write a book about books. That was the first part, and it really did not take me long to really say I want to write about the little house books, because they are so full of history, and it's Laura Ingalls Wilder's personal history, and so much to learn. And some children, a handful of children today, they do get to live the farm experience, so they can really connect with the books in a different way. But others really don't understand some of the pioneer terms or the farming words and the context there of kind of doing things yourselves and that sort of thing. And so I wanted to write a book about the books that really help kids to understand and to kind of just be not every parent can or teacher can really discuss the books. So it offers that opportunity for discussion and learning more about our American history, and I also addressed some of the complicated racial issues within the books, and I included 75 activities so kids can live like Laura and Almanzo.
Wow.
I love that.
So, and while we were waiting for rights and permissions and things like that, I had already been playing with. I was writing it as a middle grade book, a book all about owls, and it wasn't working, and then I changed it to the picture book, and I added the question and answer format, and I also added humor, and that's when it became Who Knew the Truth About Owls, and that was the first book in the series. So right now there are 6 books in the Truth About series. Another one is coming, and I just I love celebrating curiosity, and as much as I do live in wonder, I do ask a lot of questions, I also I want to learn and understand the world more, and some of that is understanding our world in American history. So I do write about history, and I do write science, and so it's been good. It's been fun, and I'm not sure if you guys know about Quirky Critter Devotions. Do you know about that one?
I did see that on my on your list when I was looking up some stuff.
Yes.
And so tell me, because we have our grandkids coming this summer. I thought that because we have the owl book, and I was thinking about getting the shark book for our grandson's birthday, but I love the Quirky devotional book. So tell us a little bit more about that one.
Oh, that was so much fun because I got to write about 52 different animals. And so there are lots of photographs about each animal, and but there's facts about the animals, a little bit of story there, and then there is a faith connection with each animal, and then it's kind of typical devotion with a prayer and a Bible verse. But because this is for kids, and I really do think getting hands-on is always best if we want to really remember something. So there is a journaling aspect to each devotion, as well as a creature connection where there is an activity for every single animal. So, and they are the creature connections. These are activities that you don't need to go to a stream to do. Bonus if you can, but I really wanted everyone to be able to access these activities. And, some of them might be doing something online, but some of them might be kind of like a science experiment, and others might be a craft like building a kiwi bird out of a kiwi fruit and adding some other things to make it look like a kiwi bird. There's just lots of different activities with, sometimes with our bodies, sometimes just doing something silly, and sometimes it's more artsy and crafty, and it's just lots of different fun there, I think, and there's been some really good response to it too.
Yeah. Who was the publisher on that one?
That one's Tyndale.
Tyndale. Okay, so is that a Tyndale Kids? And they, that is great because they do such a good job. So I'm going to have to put that on my list of things to get before our grandkids come, because I think just having those activities, having a reason to go outside is also good, but then also to stay curious. I love that. But you were an environmental educator, so what did that mean?
So that my first job, right? I was an elementary education major in college, and then my first job out of college, I moved to New England, and basically it was kind of like camp for schools. Schools would bring their students to us for 5 days at a time, and we would take the kids hiking. They were usually middle school students. We would take them hiking. We would teach afternoon classes where we might be out in the woods, we might be at a pond or a stream, or we might be doing something inside, but they were often science often science and nature related, but not always. Sometimes it was something different too. But so just a lot of nature,
okay.
a lot of outdoors, and sharing that passion in simple things. And the fun thing about being an environmental educator, when I was taking these kids hiking, I could share with them the things that I was passionate about. So I could show them a squirrel nest in a tree. I could show them how the bark of this tree looks different from that tree, and then we could identify the trees. But a different environmental educator who was one of my teammates, they might focus on something different. They might build a fire with their kids every day so that the kids could really kind of master that. So it would be different for each person, but it's basically that sharing that passion for nature and outdoors.
Well, and I just love the fact that you started writing what you knew. I think that's kind of, Shelley, what do you think? I mean, that's kind of a common theme, is that even though you were homeschooling your kids, or you had your kids reading these little house books, and that was something that you had, but really, I think the Lord puts it in the heart of writers really to write what their original passion is. I know Shelley is doing the same with her fiction.
Southern fiction. Right, well,
Well, between the two of us, one of us is actually from the South. Which one do you think that would be?
I might be able to hear it just a little bit.
And
just a little.
Yeah, and I can hear that you have an accent, because are you originally from Pennsylvania, or?
I am.
Okay, so you're a Pennsylvania native.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
And I saw, go ahead. I was going to say, I saw that you just won in April the Outstanding Pennsylvania Author Award. So that's
I did.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a shock, and it was huge, and I still glow thinking about it. But I do write what I know, but sometimes a publisher will ask me to write something, and I'm like, how am I going to make that interesting? And then I do a bit of research, and I find out that it fascinates me. So even though it might be something I want to know about, I do think that's kind of the key for writing. Whether teachers or parents are assigning writing projects, when we can have it connect to us in a special way, and it really. I don't want to write about something that I know everything about, but what can I know more about this animal or this mountain or this topic in history, and what am I going to be excited to keep learning about for a long time? Because, research takes a long time.
And you can kind of get lost in the research. But one of the things...
Oh, I do.
I mean, on your website, and where can people find you? Just to let listeners know, we have just called Annette Whipple. She is the author of 10 different books. She's got a great children's series of nature books, but then also some other history books that are fantastic. She is the 2025 Outstanding Pennsylvania Author Award winner, and she's a good friend of ours here at the Biscuit Book Club. And so one of the things that I think you should add to your tagline, instead of just celebrate curiosity, because I love that as your tagline, I would have to say more than that, especially after really reading the owl book and dissecting the owl pellet with my grandkids, I would say maybe cultivate and celebrate curiosity, because I think some of your books help us to cultivate questions we didn't even ask yet. And so I love that.
And sometimes, those animal books, they are question and answer format. And as I'm researching or as I'm brainstorming what I'm going to research, I have some ideas of what questions I have, what questions children might have. But sometimes that research leads to more questions and strange, maybe stories even. Like when I was learning about spiders, I got to hold a tarantula, and I knew that spiders would use a defense mechanism. I knew this from my research, that they would shed their hair and make the predator that they were scared of, itchy. But when I met with my spider expert, I got to hold a tarantula, and I had to put it down because my hands were so itchy. It was using its defense mechanism because it was scared of me. And so it made my hands itchy. My expert didn't send me to the hospital. They just sent me to the kitchen sink. All I had to do was wash my hands with soap and water, and the itch was gone because spiders have these little hooks on the hairs of them that make the hair stick in the skin and itch. How about that?
Yeah, I guess that. Oh, what is the weirdest thing you've ever had to hold? Shelley, you being up in Alaska, I can't imagine the different creatures up there from what we have here.
Yes.
So do they have I don't know if they have big spiders up in Alaska or not, but I don't know that.
They have spiders. I know that.
I don't know that I would want to have to. That's research I might pass on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was not. I wouldn't have held a spider except I was with the expert. Just because there's only a handful. Really, 99.9% of spiders aren't dangerous to people, but I don't want to be foolish either, you know?
Right.
So I was with the expert, though. But yeah.
One of the things I love about your books, too, is how beautiful they are.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, does that just amaze you to see the photos that have been able to be incorporated into your books and just to see you have your words married to something that is just stunningly beautiful that I just find myself looking and looking and looking at it just for the pictures alone?
When I first see the book and layout on my computer, I'm like, oh, wow. And it completes the book because those books, they are picture books. So the pictures really do tell half the story. And a lot of people wouldn't think that they would be as needed in a nonfiction picture book like my books. However, those photographs, children and adults pour over them. And there are so many included. The designers do an incredible job. And I am so pleased with how beautiful they are because they truly are. And they really do. Those images tell half of the story because and it gives the younger children, because the books are a bit long for a picture book, it really gives younger children something to do while they listen to the stories of the animals.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And there's a special, I think, for writing children's books is structure, and you also add humor.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Yes, and when I first drafted the Owl book, that was the first in the series. When I first drafted it, it was not working, and the writing was good. The topic was great. I love owls, but I knew it wasn't working, and I knew it wasn't going to sell. And part of that issue was the structure. I needed something to really set it apart. But what I really thought about, what do my children want to read? My children want to laugh. I think we all need a little bit more laughter and fun. And so I added these humorous sidebars where the animals actually do the talking. And Juan Oliver illustrates these and just does a fabulous job. And, you know, there's some puns and some goofy things. And I have fun adding that too. Because I like to have fun, but I'm not really a funny person. So adding those takes some some big creativity for me, and it's fun. It is.
Well,
love it.
You might not say that you are funny, but you were always curious. And when we were rooming together and we passed by that pond and you could hear the frogs croaking, and you're like, I've never seen a croaking frog. I should go. I thought, gosh, I wish I could just go down there and grab one for her. So anyway. Those were the Pacific chorus frogs. They are the only frog in the world that say ribbit.
So, yes, they are amazing. But, yes, sorry, that's me being goofy again, isn't it?
Did I hear you say, too, that your first book was 35 drafts?
Who knew took 35 drafts.
Wow.
So,
and that was your first animal book? That
was the first one in the series, and since then it's a lot easier. And that was with, some feedback from critique partners. That was with help from others. And then, at about 20 drafts, I completely changed it. And I went from a really long book to the 32-page picture book. And it's finally, I knew I had the right idea, but it still took, the finessing that was needed to make it ready for readers.
Yes. It just goes to show what us writers go through.
It really, yes. And I do say that is a ridiculous number of drafts, but it was worth it, and I'm glad I persevered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think we are too. Where can people find you, Annette? Where can people get your books? My books are available at any local bookstore, but they probably don't know me, so you'd have to say my name, Annette Whipple, and the title that you were interested in. And they're available online. Ask for them at your local library. Maybe request them if they don't already have them. And but online at like Barnes and Noble or Amazon, places like that. And I am at AnnetteWhipple.com. And at my site, I have free teacher guides that families, and they can use them too. You don't even need an email to download my teacher guides. And for Quirky Critter Devotions, there are 52 Quirky Critter question cards that can be downloaded, and they have 2 questions on them on every card, and they're really cute. I didn't design them, that's why I can say they're cute. I want to be a resource for others who want to celebrate curiosity too. So
yeah. And when does that book come out, Annette?
Quirky Critter Devotions is already out. Actually, it came out last year. So yes, it is available in the world now.
Awesome. And
I'm on social media as well at Annette Whipple Books, if anybody wants to find me there.
And I'm going to spell that out, ANNETTEWHIPPLE, Annette Whipple. Thank you so much, Annette, for joining us today.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun.
It is. And I'm looking forward to trying those cookies. I might have to make those when we're reading the Quirky Critter devotionals with our kids. But thanks for tuning in.
Isn't it fun to pair?
It is.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us with the Biscuit Book Club. We'll be back next week with more guests, books, stories, and, of course, a few biscuits.
Until then, keep reading and keep it cozy, y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's Biscuit Book Club with Marcy and Shelley. Be listening next week at the same time for great encouragement and a challenge for what God has for your life on the Biscuit Book Club on Joy 620 WRJZ.